Hey there everyone, I'm Don, Professor Goway, and welcome to the GowayPro Travel Tales Podcast. Travel far and travel often. Hello everyone, welcome to the GowayPro Travel Tales Podcast. Welcome to 2026. And today we are discussing a very unknown area of South America and an even lesser known area of Brazil, and that is the Pantanal. So what we're going to do today is talk to two of our destination specialists who were there when were you there, Susanna?
October was 21, I think.
October 21.
Was it October?
No, this October on
the 20th.
It's 2026
No,
now.
no, I mean 21 as in say the day of the month.
21st of October, 2025. Is that right, Brian?
21st?
that is correct.
21st,
The end of
21st.
October
That's right.
that just
Okay.
passed.
So we'll generalize. October of 2025. And my understanding is, Brian, had you been to Brazil before?
Yeah, this was my second trip down to Brazil. However, my first time to the Pantanal area. And before we even get into anything, let me just start by saying it did not disappoint.
Well, there we go. We've hit a high already in the first 3 minutes of the podcast. Susanna, I think from memory you said you hadn't been to Brazil at all.
I
you
have
had been.
only to Iguazu.
Iguazu.
Yeah.
And that was on a prior trip, yeah?
Yes, it was a prior trip. First
Okay.
time at all in Rio, São Paulo. First time at all in Brazil, beside Iguazu, of course.
Okay. So for those who may not know, what Brian's done a podcast or two with us before. So some of the people out there may know Brian or know his face and name. And obviously dealing with him through bookings and stuff. Susanna, a lot of our agents would have met or know through bookings. But Susanna, what's a bit of a history of you with Goway? How long have you been here? Have you always been with Latin America, the Goway, that type of thing?
It's now been about 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah, I'm almost there.
Yeah.
Time flies.
And Latin America all the way, yes.
Who hired you?
Oh, back in the days was Ivan and
Ivan did. Ivan and Ben.
yeah, Ivan and what was the HR? I can't remember her name.
Her name?
Melanie Liluk.
Oh, right.
Melanie,
In
yeah.
HR. I'm thinking the actual Latin department because I
Yeah.
used to run the Latin department. I wasn't sure if I'd hired you or not.
No, we never had that.
Brian, I don't think I hired you, but you've been with Goway for a long time as well, and Latin, I think, for the whole time as well, correct?
Yeah, so this May 2026 will be my 17th year
Ooh.
Wow.
here at Goway. So yeah, we started the Latin department. I don't even remember, 2011, 2012, 2010, somewhere in around there.
A long time ago it was, yeah.
Now I've worked my way up, and now I'm the sales performance manager for the Americas team on the trade side. So, it's been quite a ride. I love it.
Yeah. So again, for those who may not know, when Brian said the Americas, we used to call ourselves Latin America, but we've since expanded. And the Americas, because we've introduced North America, Canada, and the US. Probably just coming out of COVID, I think. It was in plans before COVID, but COVID obviously did what it did, and I think we came out with North America. So the department these two guys work for, shouldn't say guys, is our Americas team. So let's start with Susanna. Susanna, as you haven't been to Brazil as much as Brian has, and in general, what was your expectation? What did you think the Pantanal was going to deliver before you arrived?
I had no really expectation. I was hoping to see, as Brian was, wild life, and that disappointed was amazing, for sure. And but expectation, no. I was just I always read about it, and I always seen documentaries, and I've been selling it because of the training and everything. But I had no really huge expectation.
But your understanding of it was it was a wildlife destination.
Yes, definitely, yes. So
for you, Brian, what were your sort of expectations or knowledge of it prior to traveling there?
Yeah, probably about the same. It's definitely one of those off the beaten path type of a destinations where we don't get a lot of inquiries for. It's a little bit more on the kind of the specialized area, but again, the wildlife viewing, right? Birds, and mammals and things like that.
Why
We're
do you
always kind of sorry.
so? Why do you think either of you that because we've had the Pantanal in the books forever, like from when
Forever, yeah.
we launched Latin America and got into Brazil, I remember creating the product for it, and we, as you said, Brian, we've always struggled to sell it, and I've always found that frustrating and weird because it's such, as we will talk about in a minute. I did it forever ago. You guys did it more recently, so we'll go to your memories over mine. But the core of it is what you will describe in a minute: a beautiful wildlife destination within South America, and South America is not known really for this type of wildlife, for sure. And the comparison I often gave it, for those who may know, is Botswana and the Delta, the Okavango Delta, sort of the marshland, water-based safari viewing. But even with all that, it still didn't really come through the door for us. Now, hopefully with you two going down there, you're, because I know you both really enjoyed it, that will translate now. We can get more of word out there, hence this podcast. But Brian, why do you think we didn't have any uptake on it in the early years or even somewhat recently?
I think it's just the lack maybe of public perception. To be honest, I mean, when it comes to Brazil, other than the beaches of Rio, the first thing that pops into the majority of the general public's mind is the Amazon.
Yeah.
And while the Amazon, ranges in quite a few countries, it's just kind of always been synonymous with Brazil. So I think that's just where a lot of the people, like, they default to the Amazon versus kind of looking into the other different areas of Brazil when it comes to wildlife.
Yeah, and I think another thing is, like a lot of countries worldwide, particularly in Latin America or South America, Brazil has done a really good job in marketing its big sites, the Amazon, of course, Rio and Iguazu. They're the three big things, Susanna. When you get an average call for a trip to Brazil, that's what they're going to ask about generally, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's basically it.
So I think what Brazil has done is marketed those three areas very well. And I know for a fact that they're now trying to expand the knowledge base of the country being so big and having so many other things to offer as well. It's like Peru. Everyone thinks Peru, Machu Picchu. Everyone thinks Ecuador, the Galapagos, and they don't see a lot of the other parts of the country. So, Susanna, talk us through getting to the Pantanal. What's the deal? So I will throw up a map for those watching the video podcast, but give us an outline of where the Pantanal is and how you got there.
So getting to Pantanal, we basically started in flying to Cuiabá.
And you flew out of Toronto?
Personally, I did Toronto into São Paulo, Rio.
Okay. Brian, you flew out of Vancouver, I guess?
Yeah, correct. Through the U.S., we did via Houston. Yeah, via Houston on the way down, directly into Rio.
Okay.
So yeah, just to give the audience kind of a general overall understanding of the trip. So we started off in Rio for the first few nights. Then we went down to Iguazu Falls, which some of you may or may not know is down right along the border with Brazil, Argentina, and Paraguay. And then from there, we flew out of Iguazu Falls up to Sao Paulo, connected in Sao Paulo, and then into Cuiabá, which is in the state of Mato Grosso, which is kind of in the southwest corner of Brazil.
Right. Okay. So where did you, Susanna, meet up with everyone? In Sao Paulo?
In Rio.
So you did the Rio Iguazu as well.
Yeah.
Who else was on the trip? Was it just a Goway training trip, or was it other people?
Yeah. No, it was just us.
No, it was the two of us and
Virginia.
Virginia as well.
Okay, right. Yeah, and Virginia's our retail.
Yeah, retail.
Yeah, retail. And Virginia's been with us for quite a while as well, hasn't she? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so what is the gateway, Susanna, into the Pantanal proper? So where did you fly into out of Curitiba?
What do you mean when we flew São Paulo? I mean, it was to Cuiabá.
Yeah.
And then we drove, was about 3 hours, more or less. 3 hours into.
It's about a 2-hour drive from Cuiabá Airport down into the lodge. 2.5 hours, I would say.
More or less, yes.
Okay. Now, again, from a geographical point of view, the Pantanal is divided into two general regions, Northern Pantanal Southern Pantanal.
Yes.
Where were you? Southern Pantanal or northern?
We're the North Pantanal.
You were in the northern Pantanal. Okay.
Yeah.
Was it explained to you the difference between North and South Pantanal, Susanna? No? Okay. Brian?
Yeah. I mean, I had a bit of a general understanding of the two. So the northern Pantanal, you are flying in and out of Cuyaba, as Susanna said, and then it's about a 2.5-hour drive down into the Pantanal, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so Pantanal North is, I think, kind of how they word it. Probably your well, at least the area we were in is kind of the Mecca for the jaguars.
Right.
There's an area called Porta Joffre, which was another 2.5 hours south of the lodge we stayed at, which is kind of ground zero for jaguar spotting.
Okay. Yeah, I think from memory, and this is why I'm asking you guys, because my memory, I haven't been involved in the product for a while. I think getting into the Pantanal from the north is a bit quicker than if you fly into the south. I think the drive in and out
It's longer.
is longer in the south.
In the south, I think the gateway is Campo Grande.
Yeah, that's Campo Grande. Yeah, that's the airport I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, and and it would be a different part of the Pantanal that would be exploring. So just something for the viewers and stuff to keep in mind too is when, like, the Pantanal is, when we say big, it is big. I don't know what the exact figures are, but I think it's more than like 124,000 square kilometers. So it's probably one of the biggest wetlands, and just like you alluded to a little bit when you were comparing it to Botswana. However, the Pantanal is known as the largest floodable plain in the planet. So it is a very special area.
Yeah, and I from memory again, I think it's fed off the back of the Andes river systems as well, and a bit of the offshoot of the Amazon river system. And from my understanding as well, Susanna, that the whole, well, if not the whole region, a large part of the region is national park, but it's also privately owned farmland, and there are farmers there breeding cattle and a few other type of crops as well.
Yes, as a matter of fact, when we were leaving that day we left, we had that traffic jam of cattle, like where I was at least 5 good minutes, right, Brian? When we were leaving, and it was like a red light for us, waiting, all the cattle and cowboys. They were crossing.
Yeah, so there's a bit of a cowboy culture in that area due to the cattle, which also means, I think you said you did it, Brian, well, Susanna, that options to see wildlife in general. We'll get into the jaguars in a minute, which is one of the big attractions. But you can go foot safaris, horseback safaris, four-wheel drive, and river-based boat safaris. Or, well, I guess the correct word is safaris, because it is comparable to a safari in Africa, but again, more Botswana with the water and the wetlands around you. So did you guys do all the above, i.e. walking?
Well, they did. Horses and I are not best friends.
You're not friends with horses? Okay, fair enough.
I passed on that back in Argentina experience. But anyways, when we arrived, they actually did the horseback riding, and I did the safari.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
We did.
Exactly, by Jeep.
We did it all by foot, horseback, and even the vehicles they used were similar to the ones. I've never been to Africa yet, but the vehicles that we used on the driving ones were very similar to where they have like the staggered, almost kind of like stadium seating,
theater seating
in the back of the pickup trucks. So you have the viewing, and we did one during the day and one during the nighttime, trying to spot.
Nightlife as well, nightlife safari as well.
Yeah. So again, it sounds very similar to an African wildlife spotting experience where you would go out early morning, late afternoon, avoid the middle of the day because of the heat, and then obviously you do some night spotting as well. So for those who don't know, one of the big attractions to go to the Pantanal is to see jaguar. So most people don't think of South America for big game, and that's where Africa pulls a lot of people because they got Big Five and everything else out there. But South America and South America does have some big game. Brian, I'm jealous of this. I've done a lot of Latin America, but Brian has beat me to this punch when he was down in in Patagonia. You saw a puma, correct?
Puma.
Yeah, so puma down there. So that's not rare, but that's a very lucky spotting.
It is
So
rare.
yeah.
I have not seen one.
No, I've
And
been
there
down to
was,
Patagonia, I
yeah,
don't know how many
no.
times, but never seen puma. But so so you do have a big cat down south, the puma, and of course you have the jaguar. And depending on your social media feeds, just recently I've been getting a lot of stuff of jaguars hunting caiman, which are like a alligator or crocodile, for those who don't know. So there's big game to be seen down there. There's also giant river otters, hyacinth macaws, which are the big version. Like macaws are big in general, the big colourful Amazonian parrots, for those who may not know. But the hyacinth is like even the bigger breed of it as well. You've got deer and you've got capybaras as well. And of course, as I mentioned, the aforementioned caimans. We'll get into the jaguars in a minute. Did you see any of the others? Did you see the giant rivers or the macaws?
Oh yeah, I think we saw all of them.
You saw all
We
of them?
saw
Yeah.
the caimans were
The only
lounging like
Oh, yeah,
they
they're
were lounging
everywhere,
like at a pool. Like people are, it was like you were just driving and you see a spot of water and there was like dozen and dozen of caimans.
Caiman, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty common.
I kind of likened it to like the first time somebody goes to Costa Rica or something, and I want to see a monkeys, I want to see a monkeys, and then you see the monkeys on day one in Costa Rica because there's monkeys everywhere. It was the same thing in the Pantanal with the caiman, and even almost to the capybara. I was like, oh, I see the caiman, and then by the next day you're just like, wow,
Yeah.
more caiman. They're just absolutely everywhere. I think
Yeah.
the only animal or the of as far as like kind of whatever their big five, I don't know if they have five, but things to see down there, was the only one that we struck out on was the giant anteater, unfortunately.
Oh, the anteater, of course, yeah.
Yeah, giant anteater.
That was because of the fire,
However,
apparently.
they did have some big natural fires down there a couple of years ago. So that these were just, I think maybe they said human cause, but it's been a bit of a drought down there for the past few years. So but it looks like things are starting to bounce back now and stuff like that. So, but the giant anteater was, unfortunately, the only thing that we missed out on as far as kind of like the big draws down there for the animals.
That's a shame.
And
Yeah,
birds.
I'm sure there are there somewhere, but they're not, not.
You got to work a little harder for them.
Yeah. Well, again, like you want to see it all, but then again, you got a reason to go back, haven't you?
Yeah. The jaguar was the crown jewel, and I'd been looking for the jaguars for 13 plus years. I mean, I've struck out in Guatemala, I struck out in Belize, I struck out in Costa Rica, I've struck out in the Amazon jungle portions or the basin of Ecuador. I've just never had the luck, not even a footprint.
Well, I'm the same. Like I saw them in the Pantanal because that's where they concentrated. But again, of all my time in Latin America, I'd never, like you, Brian, I'd never even seen
not even a footprint
of them. So, it's a very special thing. And again, it's wildlife, of course, so nothing's ever guaranteed. But of course, you have a very, very high percentage of seeing a jaguar if you go down to the Pantanal. However, having said that, there are seasons for a better opportunity to see them. Susanna, do you know the seasons off the top of your head?
I think it's June to September, late September. I think that's when we were there in October, so they were there. But I think that's basically the end of the season.
The end of the season, okay.
Kind of June through that early parts of November, they say is the best time for the jaguar spotting, and that is just due to the lower water, right? So
okay,
that's
actually, sorry, Brian, sorry to interrupt. I just got the notes here. So the dry season, basically, this is off our training module, and I think on our website. When to go? The dry season, June to October, best for wildlife viewing, photography, and jaguar sightings. And the wet season, November to March, stunning landscapes and bird life, fewer travelers, and more difficult transportation due to the fact the water.
Oh yeah, that morning we went to that day we did the jaguar experience. The night before it rained, so the roads were really, really bad. I think I remember we're in the van, right, Brian? And I was at the back seat with him, and I think I almost bumped my head up on the
bouncing?
Oh yeah, and that's when I decided to put my seatbelt on because that was like.
Okay, so on that note, the accommodation choices and getting around, this is one of my favorites. It's a more rustic thing, a more rusty adventure type vibe. Therefore, clients need to be aware of that. That while the accommodation is very nice, accommodation was good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
rustic is the perfect descriptive word, I would
Okay.
say, right? Like everything's clean, food's amazing, your own rooms, your own washrooms, things like that. But it's definitely a rustic experience, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't have these super ultra luxury deluxe high-end
High-end
resorts.
African
These are
type
eco
lodges. Yeah.
lodges.
Yeah.
These are eco lodges in the middle of nowhere, essentially. And so it kind of comes with certain some certain territory, I guess.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you out there are speaking to these two people and our bigger team, they will let you know, obviously, or remind you of that aspect of it, because it's worth it, obviously. But as Brian said, why we are comparing to Africa a lot in Botswana, which has some stunning 5-star luxury lodges. What the guys are saying here is that level is not there yet. And this is one thing I found interesting, because Latin America, South America in particular, has grown exponentially over the years. We've all witnessed and seen and be part of more and more high-end product in general, particularly accommodations coming in. And even though Brazil's been pushing the Pantanal for quite a while, they are very, very conscious not to go crazy with development and push a lot of more venues in there and more higher end. They want to keep it, my understanding, somewhat rustic to keep that vibe to it. So
It does make sense too, right? You don't want to have a chain thing, like, luxury and everything. You want to experience the country. That's the best way to experience it.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, 100%. Okay, then. So you're doing your safaris. You're spotting your macaws, capybaras, the giant river otters. So when you go to see jaguar, is it a one-shot type deal? You go out on a safari, and if you see them, great, and if you don't, too bad. Or do you get multiple attempts at it? How does it work?
It would really depend on the length of stay that you're wanting to do. We were there for a 3-night stay, and one of those days was a full day jaguar experience. Now to get to the jaguar experience was another 2.5-hour drive from the lodge, heading further south, deeper into the Pantanal to a little town or a little village even called Porta Joffre. Now there is options, and I think this is starting to become a little bit more of a popular thing, where there is just kind of like how we offer Amazon river cruises. They're starting to put some river cruises down in that area of the
really?
Pantanal,
Okay.
which would be an awesome experience to do it that way, because then you'll have multiple days on the river system down there to look for the jaguars, and it would really just couple up nicely with a lodge-based stay like where Susanna and I stayed. So the lodges would give you that access to the plains where you have the better chance of seeing the giant anteaters and some of the other animals, and more specifically the birds. So the lodges are really big with the people for the birders community out there. So being able to offer those two, I think, would be a perfect combination. But if your time's limited and you only got kind of 3-4 nights, then doing a full day jaguar experience out of one of the lodges is definitely well worth it. It's a long day. I think we started our day probably 5 o'clock in the morning, 2.5-hour drive from the lodge down. We were on the river for probably, I would say, 4 or 5 hours, right, Susanna?
Yeah.
And it was in a boat on the river.
Yeah.
Yep.
In a boat on the river, and then another 2.5 hours drive back. So it was definitely a long day, but
all worth it.
So worth it.
So
worth it.
Brian, when we chatted to prior to this, and the reason we set this up is you were both of you were so inspired and like blown away by it all.
Blown away is perfect. Yeah.
One thing you did mention to me, if I'm not mistaken, is that you said that if not all, quite a lot of the jaguars have been tagged for their protection. So as such, it's somewhat easy to find them, as in the guides have a general idea where they are.
Sort of. So they're not tagged in the general, or maybe they were, but none of the jaguars we saw had collars.
Okay.
So luckily enough, we actually bumped into being on these little river boats. Again, likening it to the African safari, you'll bump into boats all over the place, and in these little boats, there's 6, 8 people, kind of all doing their same thing. So one of these boats we bumped into happened to be a scientist who was there studying the jaguars, and she actually had come up with a book. So, and I guess this is a collaborative effort between a bunch of the different scientists down in that area working on this project. So they've photographed all of them, they've documented them all, and she actually built them into this jaguar field guide book. So it lists all the males, all the females, all the cubs, their lineage.
Oh, wow.
So we thought we saw 4 different jaguars in that hours we were on the river, which again was unbelievable. We had that much action. Turns out we saw 3. We just saw 1 jaguar twice.
Yep.
And due to the fact that we had this book and we had met the scientist on the river, we actually know which 3 jaguars we saw, which makes that experience even that much more memorable. To me anyways, because now I can put a face to the name or a name to the jaguars that we saw.
Yeah. So Susanna, when you saw them, were they lounging on the bank? Were they hunting? Bit of both, or just wandering up and down?
Well, the first one we saw was a mom and a cub, and they were just lounging.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just a lineup of the boats with these people with the big cameras and everything. They were just there, like, nothing happens. They were lounging. Then we moved away and we saw the second one. Same thing, was just lounging. And the third time was actually the mom going hunting. Well, we didn't see her actually hunting, but she was swimming, going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was swimming and was going for some prey that was around there, most likely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Brian, you said you got a whole lot of good photos. So for those again watching the video podcast, I'll throw a few up over there, our conversation now, so you can see what our staff, what you can see down there. And if you're really keen, you can just Google jaguar hunting caiman or something like that, and you'll see some amazing footage of. There's a famous one that's doing the rounds recently of a jaguar jumping out of a tree into the river, grabbing the caiman, wrestling it, dragging it on shore, and the strength in that.
Unfortunately, we didn't see that. Unfortunately, we didn't see that.
It's funny you mentioned that, Dawn, though, because the first 2 jaguars we saw, like Susanna said, was a mother and then a cub, but he was an adolescent cub. So the scientist told us that this would have been his last season with his mother. So he was a bit of a mama's boy. The rest of the litter mates had already wandered off on their own. He was the last one. So probably next year he would have already gone off on his own. The second jaguar we saw, the one that was up in the tree branch overlooking the water, once we found out who she was, and I referred back to the booklet later that night back at the lodge, it turns out that jaguar was an older daughter of the mother that we had seen earlier in the day, and her favorite hunting technique is sitting on these branches that overhang the river, and they're waiting for the caiman to swim by, and then boom, they jump down on them. So she was famously known. That was her hunting technique.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then, shortly thereafter, we saw the mother that we had seen earlier. She was swimming, hunting for the caiman swimming. And the adolescent male cub was somewhere just out of view off in the bush, waiting for the mother. Okay. So they were hunting.
We're almost there. We're almost there.
Yeah,
it's wildlife. On my recent trip to South Africa, I finally saw up close a leopard. So, and I've been to Africa many times, so that was the first time I'd seen it up close. So, you've got to be lucky. You've got to be lucky, or you've got to go back and keep trying if that's what really turns you on, so to speak.
Another great thing that they pointed out, so the jaguar in the Pantanal, not only is it the best place in the entire world to have a potential sighting, the jaguars of the Pantanal are also the biggest jaguars in the entire world.
Oh, that I didn't know.
This is the best place. So, and the reason they're so big there is because of the water network and the abundance of the caiman and the capybara. it's not like in other places. The jaguars don't have to go far. They don't have to, walk kilometers or miles hunting, because the prey is just there.
Just all
It's
around
so
them.
abundant that these are the biggest jaguars in the world. I think I read a statistic that really they only are number 3 to the male lions and tigers.
Oh, really?
But for their size, they have a more powerful jaw. So the jaguars of the Pantanal, some of them are so strong, especially the males, that they have they've come up with a hunting strategy of where they swim and they head on and they have the jaw strength to bite a caiman straight through the skull and just crush immediately.
Yeah,
whereas
that I know, yeah.
As like some of the other big cats around the world, they will always try and go for the windpipe or something like
choke,
that.
And choke the prey to death. Yeah. Yeah, that's
the jaguars in the Pantanal, are so strong they can just crush a skull or snap a neck for an instant kill.
Yeah, so there's that aspect. And again, if you go on YouTube and find these videos, as I said before, like they're, caiman aren't as big as crocs and alligators, but they're still sizable. And when you watch a jaguar attack and then drag a struggling good-sized caiman out, like the strength in its shoulders and neck is just unbelievable to do that. Susanna, you mentioned obviously you were, as you saw the first jaguar and her cub, you mentioned the big cameras. So I would assume both of you as destination specialists, now having been there, you would advise people who are into photography, which is obviously what the Pantanal is about, be it jaguar, be it bird life, because the bird life is abundant. I mentioned the macaws, but there's so many types of bird life down there that having a zoom lens or good cameras, again, when I say good cameras, like iPhones these days are magical, but zoom phone. Oh, that's right, Brian, because I think you just used your iPhone, didn't you?
Yeah, and
it's crazy.
Pictures.
Yeah.
I mean, there was definitely like the people that are into photography, you could tell, right? When we're on the boats doing the jaguars or any of the excursions out of the lodges where we were mostly looking at birds and some of the other animals, people had their setups that were amazing. I used my iPhone 15 Pro Max, and you asked Susanna or Virginia because at the ride back to the lodge after the jaguars, I was airdropping all of my pictures to them because the difference between my iPhone 15 and whichever a year behind model or whatever, the difference was unbelievable to the point where Susanna was joking, saying like, "Oh my gosh, as soon as I get back, I'm upgrading my phone because this is."
I'm processing that. Yeah, I'm almost
Apple,
there.
if you're listening, we'd love to be sponsored by you. Say hey.
Yeah. The photos were crazy, and Don, I'll share some of the photos that you can share with our viewers and listeners out there. But yeah, iPhone 15 did the trick, but if you
you basically countered my statement there that you don't necessarily need the big super duper camera stuff. Again, Brian, as you say, as I am into it, if you're into it, take it because there'll be nothing like it. Zoom lens on a jaguar, but again, with the photos going up, I haven't seen them yet, so I can't go wow or ooh, but I do trust Brian that they are good. But you'll be seeing his photos, and so again, counter to my statement, I guess a good iPhone or a good Android, whatever it may be, will do the job. Is there any other little selling tips or insider information you'd like to pass on to our travel partners out there about selling the Pantanal, Susanna? Like how you would position it? Is it something you think people should be presenting alongside of Iguazu? Okay, let me back that up then. So we know Brazil, if you don't know, Brazil's big, and to do the Amazon and Rio and Iguazu, there's a lot of flying because it's a big, big country. I would guess knowing the region very well, that unless you have lots of time, of course, then you can do anything you want. But on an average itinerary, I would guess, and you guys do this every day now, that if you have the 4 spots, Pantanal, Amazon, Rio, Iguazu, that you would probably have to swap, like give up the Amazon to go to the Pantanal or give up the Pantanal to go to the Amazon on an average trip, trying to get the big stuff in. Is that a fair statement?
It would have been before I had gone.
Right.
However, something that we learned while we were down there is that the state of Mato Grosso in Brazil actually has 3 different unique ecosystems. Okay, so and maybe we can pull up a map or something that shows this, but the northern part of Mato Grosso actually is the bottom part of the Amazon basin.
Okay.
So they have the Amazon as one ecosystem. They also have a savanna grasslands as a second ecosystem. That's kind of somewhat sort of middle-ish. And then the bottom portion would be the Pantanal. So theoretically, instead of flying clients in and out of Manaus and the actual kind of Amazon that people think of when they picture Brazil, we could definitely tailor make and customize itineraries where we can fly them down into Cuiabá, and they wouldn't need to fly around to all these different areas. They would have a few different land transfers to get around, or maybe some shorter, tiny domestic flights. But we could also get them that Amazon basin experience, maybe something into the grasslands and then down into the Pantanal. And a thing to keep in mind too is if we when we're laying out itineraries like this, where say there is people that want to do the Amazon and the Pantanal, a key factor in this is setting them up whereas they're doing the Amazon first, because Don, as you know, the Amazon, you really got to work for anything you see, right? We got thick jungles. It's like we said, I've been into the Amazon basin. I've been to jungle lodges all over Central and South America, and I've not even seen a footprint of a jaguar. So you really got to put in the effort. You got to have a little bit of luck or a lot of luck on your side to see any types of wildlife in the Amazon. Whereas in the Pantanal, with the openness, especially when you're in those summer months, or sorry, their winter months, the June through November, when it's the dry season, it's a lot easier. You're seeing things a lot easier. So if you want to set your clients up for success, as far as viewing the wildlife there, you kind of start them off on the more difficult, where if they see something amazing, and then so that way they're not kind of disappointed, right?
And I agree with that. I think you should always
you're finishing with a wow.
Well, I was going to say, like any itinerary anywhere in the world, you want to generally finish with a wow. And obviously, talking wildlife here, that would be the Pantanal and hopefully spotting jaguar. But again, like you could do, as Brian says, in that case, so you can do an Amazon experience within Mato Grosso. If you have more time, you do the Amazon out of Manaus, of course, into the Pantanal, and then obviously Rio, and finish in Iguazu, which Iguazu in itself, on the natural side of things, well, the jaguar are natural, but you know what I mean? That's a true wow experience, Iguazu being the largest waterfalls in the world. Okay, anything else? Anything else you'd like to say? Go on, Brian, you were going to say?
No, I was just going to say, I mean, even in the Iguazu Falls, if you've got Mother Nature and Lady Luck on your side, you might even spot a jaguar in Iguazu Falls. I mean, probably I think it was maybe the week before, or even a few days before, when Susanna and I were there, we did the Grand Adventura, which, for those of you listening in, the Grand Adventura is one of the boats where you get on these Zodiac boats, and it takes you up the river right under the base of the waterfalls, and you get soaking wet and everything like that. Lots of fun, super great excursion. But there was a jaguar sunning themselves on the riverbank, right? So
by the falls?
Right by the falls. So the people that day got a little extra bonus wow factor in for them.
Yeah, so that would be like one a jaguar, but two a jaguar at Iguazu Falls. That's a double wow.
Yeah, I know.
A double whammy.
Yeah.
Okay, so any sort of technical stuff or otherwise that you want to pass on to our travel partners on how to sell or position? So we just discussed that there's a good alternative to the Amazon, more time on your sleeve, up your sleeve. Do both experiences, water-based, are vastly different. So you're not doubling up there. So that's another thing to be aware of. Brian, anything else you'd want to tell the travel partners out there about the Pantanal from a selling point of view?
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it's without being really cliche about it, it's about as much of a guarantee to see a jaguar as you can guarantee something without fully guaranteeing.
Without guaranteeing it.
But yeah, I mean, for those of you that want to cross this off of your list, I mean, the jaguars are not found anywhere in the world except for North America. Well, some parts of Mexico, Central America, and South America. And if you want to see the biggest big cat that we have in the Americas, the Pantanal is ground zero for that.
Okay. And on top of that, as we mentioned, you got birdlife, the Hyacinth Macaw, giant river otters, capybara, which are rather common, but seeing them en masse in that environment is quite cool as well. Susanna, anything else you want to say?
No, I think we covered a lot, and it is, if especially for the wildlife enthusiastic, it's a
good destination.
That's a spot. Yeah.
Not as it's a good flight down to Brazil, but it's not as far away as Africa. Sorry,
nope.
Sorry, Bronwyn and the Africa team. We're pushing Latin America here. So on that note, thank you both. Everyone out there, you now got two people who've just been to the Pantanal who can speak firsthand about it. But of course, as Susanna mentioned earlier in our conversation, we train everyone a lot. I think that you two, if you haven't, will be training the team as well, in a similar situation to what we just had here. So if you don't get Brian, you don't get Susanna, you can trust any of our other team to give you the best advice on a trip to the Pantanal. As you have heard, it is unique. That's the other thing too. I think it's somewhat unique in the world. I do compare it to Botswana and the Delta, but it's got different wildlife. It's literally just down the road in the heart of Brazil, so it's easy to get to. There's lots of lift out of Canada and the US to get people down into Sao Paulo and or Rio and then across into the Pantanal itself. So it's a destination you should all consider when you get an inquiry about Brazil. Don't forget it. Add it to the list of the big three. So it's now the big four. You've got the Amazon, Rio, Iguazu, and now the Pantanal. Keep that at the top of mind when you get your inquiry for South America and in particular Brazil. So Brian, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. Susanna, thank you for your time. And as always out there, thank you very much for listening in today. We appreciate you giving up your time to hopefully learn something a little bit more about Goway and, in this instance, Brazil and the Pantanal. Until next time.